Hi everybody, we're going to do a Q&A today. So we're going to talk about Koji Suzuki because, this week, Friday and Saturday, we are actually doing a trunk show, virtual trunk show of course, with Koji, and we have his model samples here, and we also have his fitting samples. So if you're interested in placing an order, you can make an appointment with us and you can try it on you can try on his shoes via our trial shoes here, and then we can talk about how to put an order together with you based on these model samples and based on the materials we have available, and also if you want to change any other details, obviously we can make that all happen for you. So I want to show you firstly the kind of the house style, quote unquote, of a pair of Koji Suzukis, right? Like what makes a Koji a Koji? For me, it's a couple things. Firstly, I think the stitching is beautiful. The stitching is super, super fine on Kojis. Whether it be made to order or bespoke, I love the work on the uppers. I love his last shape. So his last shape tends to have a very defined line here. And I think it just looks great, especially on a dressier shoe in the chisel toe like this, but actually it looks great even in the casual shoes on an almond toe, which I'll show you guys in a second. I love the profile. The profile is super interesting because it's very low slung. It actually has a relatively short heel and it recedes a little bit here. See, it's canted inwards ever so slightly. So it has this very sleek appearance on the foot, which I certainly appreciate. And then obviously the sole work is very, very nice. You've got a tight waist here as well. And it's interesting to see on the waist, how far the bevel comes up as well. Because by the time you're here, you're actually not that far off from the bottom of the heel. So overall, the appearance is, as I mentioned before, low slung and very flattering on the foot, actually. Funnily enough, the last is also, I find, very suitable for Asian feet. Asian feet being sometimes a little bit pronated or a little bit lower in the arch. This last fits very well for people with those feet. All right, let's look at some models. In fact, we'll start with this one since I'm already holding it. This is a Lazy Man. It was Winston Churchill's favorite style because it had no laces. It has a rubberized elastic gore here. So what that means is that this is elastic, and then they add panels of leather on top so that the elastic's covered up and it looks a little bit more fancy, for lack of a better word. Oftentimes, like in Koji's case, he likes to put in fake lacing just to kind of complete the illusion a little bit. I really like this style of Lazy Man when it has all the other decoration, right? So when it has the wingtip and when it has the punching and the heel counters, and the decorative stitching at the heel. But obviously you could request a Lazy Man in a simpler form too. If you wanted it without the wing, certainly we could do it that way. It would be very, very interesting as well. So there you go, that's the Lazy Man. Let's have a look at this. This is lovely. This is Koji's chukka. And I really like his chukka for the sheer simplicity of the whole thing. It's actually surprisingly difficult to make something distinctive when you have so little to work with. But just the height of the chukka, the way he does the decorative stitching, the hand stitch details here, I think it makes for a beautiful, beautiful shoe. And you could potentially change the look of the shoe a little bit depending on your specification for the welt. So for instance, if you wanted to look a little bit sporty, a little bit chunkier, you could do it with a rounder toe and you could extend the welt slightly. And there's a day-night sole on here. You could potentially even do a slightly thicker, heavier day-night sole as well. And that would give you a really great kind of walking around boot. I actually made one for myself years ago, and I use it basically as my rain boot. I put on a heavier day-night sole, and it always looks good, goes everywhere. It's a very handy shoe to have in a wardrobe. All right, one more. Derby, because I really like Koji's Derby. The Koji 5-eyelet Derby, again, is one of those exercises in simplicity where it's really just about the line. Koji, has a great sense for proportion, and I just love the way that line moves. It comes in ever so slightly at the waist, and then it curves downwards and through to the tip this way. Really, it's just a wonderful looking thing. And that's kind of what separates the greats from the okays, is that very subtle sense of proportion. So I'm super in love with this shoe. And this is again one of those shoes that could work in a lot of different ways. I mean, you were to do that in a dressy leather, it would be fine with a suit. But for me, I like it in these kind of lighter colored or grained leathers or suedes, just because there's so much opportunity to really show off the texture in a design like this. So if you're interested, for me, currently my favorites in this sort of COVID-y environment where people aren't necessarily wearing their suits around so much, some form of the Lazy Man, some form of the chukka, or some form of the derby. That would be where my heart is at the moment. If you're interested in placing an order, please feel free, reach out to your Armoury team. And we are doing the trunk show Friday and Saturday. There we go. Koji Suzuki. Thanks for watching.